Hello, storytellers, storytelling run. I'm just going to do some newsy rant stuff because I haven't done a rant in a while. So I've been itching and, I'm aware of what's all that's going on, but I just don't make videos on it. But here we go. Just Stop Oil. I want to go after them with this point that no one seems to be making, and that kind of bothers me. So that's why I'm going to make this point, and you guys feel free to take it and call them out on this. So Just Stop Oil did the airplane thing where they went after Taylor Swift's airplane. Okay, but here's some things that they're not mentioned. You guys need to be aware of with Just Stop Oil. And they're run by like some elite Hollywood rich person lady. I looked her up. I have it on another video somewhere on my YouTube. She's part of like the Kennedys or something, so it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so this is the woman, the young lady who did the Just Stop Oil. Let me go to this real quick. So her, this thing here, the grinder is, obviously it's to make that thing, you gotta have I think you gotta have oil to make that. The synthetic backpack she has here, I can tell the synthetic straps there, that's made from oil. The shoes, the rubber soles, the synthetic material. This is a synthetic material, the stretchy pants she's got on. That's all made from oil. Yeah. I'm pretty sure her other fabrics have synthetics in them, polyesters, nylons. Those are all petroleum products. Okay, just so you know who these people are. Let me really quick show you this. This is them as well. These are synthetic vinyl. The banners they use, some are cloth, but very synthetic, and they use a lot of vinyl banners. This cloth here is synthetic. That's made from petroleum products. So is this backpack with those straps. All of their shoes got rubber soles. Rubber is made from oils. Any kind of camera they have. The glasses, a ton of them have these glasses. All glasses have petroleum products in them because they're all synthetic. The glasses are shatterproof. The plastic frames. They can have all natural glasses made with metal and glass. I would not recommend it. Real glass around their eyes, especially for the things that they do. So I would recommend them doing oil products. Synthetics is much safer for their eyes. Also, then this is the video where the YouTubers came in and sabotaged, their banquet, the Just Stop Oil banquet. Look at this. They got a big banquet here. They even had a piano person here somewhere. Look at that. All these people want to stop oil. Okay. Do you notice anything here? All these chairs are plastic. See all these chairs they're using? The table is going to be plastic. You know why? Because they're light, they're cheap, they're easy to make, they're affordable. Why aren't they using wood? I guess I don't know. What product are they going to? Why don't they have wood chairs? And they're in a church too, which I find annoying. But this material here, stretched around here with the orange, is an oil product. These chairs are oil, and they're using them because it's convenient, it's cheap, it's affordable, they're durable, easy to fold up, light, so I don't have to carry anything too heavy. They're easy to wash. They're using oil. I could go on and on and on about their oils. Okay, so, and here they all are with their phones. Oh, they had a little beeper thing, the YouTubers. But all these phones here are made from oils, petroleum products, the plastics, the synthetics. Just Stop Oil are tyrants, mini tyrants. They're dictators. They want to destroy us and stop us from using oil. But they can use oil. So what does that make them? The hypocrisy of this all is, evil is full of hypocrisies, and they're fine with that. They're reprobate. They're illogical. They can use oil. They can use oil, but you can't. You have to stop using oil. But they can use oil. They can use plastics, synthetics, petroleum products, but not you. Okay? That's what Just Stop Oil is. Don't get me started on the hypocrisy of evil. It's unlimited. All right, let's move on to left. So the Louisiana is forcing or legislating, and all legislation is forced. The 10 Commandments in schools, I believe, requires the public schools to have the 10 Commandments. And the leftists are crying separation of church and state. Okay, don't listen to them. Don't ever listen to left. This is awesome. So ACLU, which we all know is just very hypocritical. Hypocritical. They're so here. I love these people now. And Nick Cersei. So pride flags next, because of pride. See, they define what is religion, and then they go after Christianity. Basically, they're not going to go after. The gay stuff or the BLM. That's all Marxist. Marxism is a religion because it forces you to believe in their belief system, and they do worship man or sex or whatever it is they want to worship. So pride flags. Why aren't they going after all these pride flags in the schools that are teaching sexuality to kids, that are grooming kids? Why is the government putting pride stuff on crosswalks, flags on things? So I'm very, this is good that everyone's bringing this up, because that is a religion, and it is forcing their agenda, their belief on kids, on us, and forcing us to believe in the choosing pronouns and gender swapping and all that stuff. So the government is forcing a religion down our throat, and we need to fight back as Christian nationalists. And Christian nationalists, we absolutely don't believe in forcing our religion on you. That is the concept of separation of church and state, because the state forces you to believe something. Christians inherently, we don't want laws that force you to believe in Jesus Christ. We don't want laws that force you to believe in pronouns or transgenderism or homosexuality. We don't want laws, any of these laws, to force you to do any of this, to clap along, sing along to any of this. So this whole separation of church and state thing is not about, it's separation of an agenda by the state on the people. That's what we don't want as Christians. Now, the left wants that. The left wants atheism and secularism and homosexuality and Marxism forced upon you, because they do. They're evil. That's what they want. They want to force it. They just don't want Christianity, which is, and the agenda of Christianity is not to force anything upon you, but to make you, I'll take that back. We do want to force a modicum of morality upon people. We don't want to force them to believe in Jesus Christ or the religion, but we do want a modicum of morality, and the 10 Commandments is that. Because remember, the first commandment doesn't require you to believe in God. The very first commandment God has says, "Do not put any gods before me." Thusly, that's all it says. It doesn't say you have to believe in God. It says, "Don't put any gods." So don't believe in any gods. That's what it says. If you can't believe in me, don't believe in any gods. But if you put a God before me, you're evil. Because remember, the 10 Commandments declares what's evil. A Sabbath, have a day, a holy day of rest. Worship God, or whatever you want to do. But Sabbath, a day of rest, where you get to worship in the way that you want, and you get a day of rest. So basically, people cannot enslave you for 7 days a week. You need a day of rest. What is the other ones? Don't blaspheme. Don't blaspheme God. So don't blaspheme God, but don't blaspheme. Period. No cursing, no swearing, and it's just a matter of showing mutual respect of people's and their beliefs. I guess I'm opening it up a little bit there. I don't know. Whatever. What are the other ones? So I did the first 4 there, and then that's 4 on God, or in religion, on belief system, whatever. That there's that sort of respect. Don't if you're not going to believe in God, then we can't have other gods. If you're not, don't, which is actually 1 and 2. And don't have idols, because if you have idols, you're gonna focus on that and not on being fair with people. You're gonna start promoting religion basically. So you emphasizes that with 2 commandments, then the Sabbath, and then the blaspheming, and then the 2 on family is adultery, and don't commit adultery, and honor the father and the mother. Those are incredibly important for a society to have marriage and family as the center of that society. And if you push or have other things, it breaks down society. Eventually it will, and that's what we see today. We're not promoting marriage. We're promoting divorce, promiscuity, polygamy, grooming. Now, So if you all are wondering why is chivalry dead? Well, because you're not going to church. And then the last 4: don't steal, don't murder, and it's not thou shalt not kill; it's thou shalt not murder. Okay, murder is killing an innocent person. Don't steal. They're obviously allowing that now under $1,000. You can steal here in California. Don't covet, which is Marxism. don't covet your neighbor's wife or property. That's Marxism. Here in California, we're constantly being our property, our business is constantly being shaved away by the Democrats. They're constantly taking things from us. They're constantly taking our rights from us. Our children. They don't want us to now speak. I'm going to bring that up here in a minute. They want to separate the children from us now. The Democrats believe they own our children. That's coveting. And then the other one, don't murder, don't slander. Oh my God, that's a big one. Thou shalt not bear false witness. It's not thou shalt not lie. It's not about lying. Because, sometimes you're going to lie. You're not fat, honey. Sometimes you got to lie. Although I never say that. I always say, okay, slander. It's about destroying a person with a deception so that they will be persecuted unfairly. That's happening now all the time. Democrats are the impetus of slavery, the Fugitive Slave Act, counting black people as 1/3 or whatever, or counting them in votes, which is ridiculous. Like they're doing now with the illegals. They're doing this over and over and over. They keep doing the same thing over and over, where they want to keep flooding this country with crap, and then as generations later they start blaming the Republicans. Have Democrats ever, the party, has it ever officially apologized for its stance on lynching? It lynched 5,000 Republicans, ruled the South with an iron fist. Have they ever apologized for lynching, slavery, Fugitive Slave Act, their withdrawal of and reneging on the treaty that we had after the Vietnam War, when we won the Vietnam War? Have they? Thusly, ergo, Afghanistan, same thing. The fall of Saigon and the fall of Afghanistan happened under Democrats. Have they ever apologized for it? No. They blame America. They blame Republicans. That's what evil does. Evil never apologizes. It will never apologize. It merely slanders and projects its evil upon good. They have always claimed that we lost the Vietnam War in the movies, everything. We did not lose it. We only lost it because after they got Nixon, like they're doing with what they do with Bush and they're doing with Trump. After they got Nixon with crap, the Democrats took over because people believed, Nixon was a crook, and they just canceled the treaty that where we won, and we had a peaceful treaty with the North Vietnamese. The Democrats literally said we're not going to support it. They started removing their military from the South, and of course the communists came in and wiped and did horrible things, and that's the whole killing fields in Cambodia and all that too. And the Democrats, with Hollywood, just say we lost the war because of America. We lost it. We did not lose it. And that's really a frustrating part of this story. Okay, so let's get back to the ACLU, separation of church and state. And look, of course, this is what they have here. They have Black Lives Matter, the trans flag. They're making them wear masks. They're making them separate out. This is a religion. This is a cult. They got it here they put it in the White House there. And they, that trans was showing off her fake boobs or whatever. So they're pushing an agenda. They're even here in California, in Hollywood, in the LA school system, there's a ton of pagan imagery throughout the schools, like in the library, at this middle school band. If you go in there, there's a ton of like Aztec Mayan idolatry, painted around the wall, the murals and stuff. It's really like, Christian and evil is going to do what evil does. So you can't even get mad at evil. What you should be getting mad at, what I should be getting mad at, is what are we Christians doing about it? In our culture, in your sphere, what are you doing about bringing Christ back into the conversation? Always. That's why in the RPG culture, that's my ministry. I'm bringing Christ back into the RPG ministry or RPG culture, because everyone, including Christian men, including myself, have removed Christ from the culture. No more. Stop it. Put Christ back in. Be annoying. Be that wedge. Be pushback. As a Christian, I'm a Christian nationalist. I believe, I'm not even afraid of that. I don't even care whether you're a Christian nationalist. I accept your terms. I accept your insult. Your attempt at an insult. Okay, so we need to just push 10 Commandments. Absolutely. Yep. Because your religion sucks. Just tell them your belief system sucks ass. Oops, that's a bad word. I would probably say that though. Anyway, I'm not supposed to blaspheme. I shouldn't be, blaspheme. That's not good. Okay, let's move on. I don't want to move. That's the whole Christians need to get involved kind of thing. All right, this one is Scott Weiner. I I guess I hate, because I'm not a very good Christian. I hate this guy. He's a San Francisco local representative. California State Senator Scott Weiner calls Riley Gaines a crazy right-wing nut job. I don't want to play this, but this guy's disgusting. He, here he is he's always at all the Pride events in some sexualized thing. Don't tell mom or dad. That's what they're pushing in their books, in the libraries, in the school libraries. Don't tell mom or dad. And that is the law now in California, or they're about to pass it. They're getting where any kid that wants their pronouns to be different than grammar, reality, science, the schools legally, through this guy here, are required to not tell the parents. They cannot. And if they do, their life will be destroyed by this agenda, by their church. Their church is in the government. His church is in the government. And he is pushing his agenda. His religion is in the government. He's pushing that agenda. This is just gross. And this guy is a pedo and a groomer. I will say that. That's my opinion on the laws that he's passed. Here's a law he passed. And HIV. He passed a law where it's legally safe to pass on HIV knowingly. The virus. If you as a gay person pass it on, he has a law in California that's legally, you're protected if you pass on the HIV to another person. He's got that law. They have a law too where, and this one is very strange, no one's talking about this, and I looked it up, but the taxpayer, we're being forced, they're taking our money, we're being forced to pay for all the gay people that have HIV, and they're taking the drugs, the Pfizer drug or whatever, and Moderna. So one of them too has an HIV. It sort of subdues the HIV. There's two drugs. One is it subdues the symptoms, so you keep taking that, and you have HIV, and it won't activate, go into full blown AIDS. So they're taking that pill now. That is being paid for the gay community, and the gay community is pushing that, so that we have to pay for it, so that they can continue doing what they're doing. And then the second drug is supposedly to reduce the spread of it by 9/10. So 9 times out of the 10 times you have promiscuity and orgies and all this stuff for the gay people, they'll still pass it on. So they've taken these two drugs, and these two drugs are paid for by us, by law. And if we don't pay for it, they'll kill us. I mean, that's what the law is. Every law is a death sentence if you don't comply with it. So I have to pay for this for the gay people, so they can continue to do the promiscuity, continue to spread it, continue to spread HIV, legally spread HIV, and So they want to lock us up for COVID, but they can definitely go out and spread HIV legally. Just so you know. So here we are, trying to get along with Pride, go along to get along, and they are creating laws to take away your children, legally spread HIV, and force us to then pay for the drugs to minimize the HIV so they can continue to spread it. That's what I think, and that's what I believe as a American citizen, freedom of speech, Googling this stuff, rather thinly on Google and looking around at the articles and stuff and finding out this information. Okay. Juneteenth, I want to go over this a bit. So they have a Juneteenth thing here, and they're crossing out July 4th and putting in Juneteenth now, these shirts. And Tyson Foods sort of sold these to their employees or something. And then, of course, they backtracked. But you can buy these shirts where you cross out Independence Day and you put in Juneteenth, which no one has, whatever. And by the way, this Juneteenth, 1865, Republicans did that. Republicans. No, not Democrats switching. Republicans did that. It's just amazing. They, evil will never, ever apologize for evil. They're evil, right? They will never, you can have a bunch of strewn bodies and a butcher knife and they made me do it, or no, they would never say sorry for what they've done. Unless you subdued them forcefully to do that. Anyway. So let me explain something about this. Because first off, they had the 1619 Project, which is where they, the 1619 Project is like the claim of the slaves came into America first. Within, 1619 to 1860 is what, 250 years. And America didn't even start till 1775. So that was 1775, and the Constitution didn't start till what, 1817? I don't know when it was. But anyway, think about this. Within what, 60, 80 years, we ended slavery. I mean, we ended it. And this is, history back then takes a while. And we fought the Democrats. The Republicans and the Grand Old Party barely formed, barely struggled, terrorized North and South by the Democrats. And somehow, yet we still managed to end it. Start a war and end it. That's amazing. Because the Democrats, when Abraham Lincoln was elected, he was my God, this is amazing. The North had Democrats, the South had Democrats, and they were so huge and so confident that they both had two candidates. So they split the vote. Thusly, Lincoln was able to get in. So Lincoln and the Republicans would have never won that if the Democrats didn't have such hubris, and their evil. Okay, but I want to go over this too. That the America ended slavery within less than 100 years from its start, and then less than 200 years or whatever, 250 years from when it even started, because of the colonies. But I want to go over something else here. This here is a video on. Let me see if I can. That's too big. Okay. Let's do this. Is the I just want to play this and explain to you how it is Europe, Christianity that spread colonialism, right? Especially right here. Russia's a police state, whatever. But and this is like a pretty sparsely populated. But this little section here, right, spread out and colonized the world. Okay, starting in 1492. There, let me go ahead and pause. 1492. And let's move to 1550. Started, Now, sadly, this is obviously part of the slave trade here. Okay, and then moving them over here. But think about this: the Portugal started the slave trade in 1400 or 1450ish. They, I read in a history book that when they first started it, they brought slaves over to Portugal, and the Africans were actually kind of joyful because they were, slaves in Africa. And when they're slaves in Africa, your entire village was enslaved, wiped out and enslaved. And because all of this is slavery, by the way, all of Africa was slavery by Africans. When the slaves went into Portugal, they're like, wow, this is, they had a good life. And so the Portuguese were like, oh, we're helping them. Let's do this some more. How can we, improve upon this? Now, granted, it went south pretty quick, sour, south, bad, because Christians started moving out and expanding and coming over here and then finding all this wealth, new stuff, tobacco, sugar, that was a huge one. And so they needed, and it was labor intensive, so they needed people to do it. So the slavery really had this sort of this could work out for everybody kind of thing, because all of the slaves in Africa were taken by West Africans. So they're like, well, might as well just use them ourselves. What other options those people have? Granted, it got worse and worse and greedier. I get it. It got really evil, really bad, and even the initial intent of it was still bad. But this is medieval times. We're talking about medieval times. We're not talking about modern times. And believe me, modern times today, there's plenty of slavery. So go judge them. But as this expanded out, think about this. Whatever. I'm gonna have another point of view there. But anyway, by here. Right about here, pause. Right about here, 1885 is when slavery ended. It's ended for who? For the West. We ended it. So 1450 to 1860 was 400 years. No more slavery. It lasted 40 years, and it took a while for it to get going, and for even people to even recognize it. And most slavery was not even in the Christian areas, right? It was outside here in the colonies. Which was mostly, a few small smatterings of Christian churches, but most of it was business. Most of it was rough and shod people running, a very dangerous journey from the white people to the slaves, the black people. So most of the Christians were here in Europe and not seeing it. So even that took a while for them to understand what was going on. So we ended it though within 450 years or 400 years, 450 years, whatever. But so 1440, but before that, guess where how long slavery was going on in Africa, Asia, the Middle East? Since 2500 BC, since the Noah's flood, slavery was huge and it never ended. No one ever thought of it to end. It was these little Christians in this little group right here that started copying the slavery thing because, well, it was there. And they had probably had forgotten about it because they had ended slavery in Europe, in the Christian lands. They actually ended at around 800 AD. It kind of ended the slavery that was in Europe. And so for 1,000 years, they just hadn't had slavery. So for the slavery to start again, I get, you guys forget things too, when you become complacent or joyful or whatever. And they did end it. They ended it. But the pagans did not end it at all. And today it is getting worse again because of this anti-white. Okay, so this is white colonialism, 1914. Slavery was ending all throughout Africa. The Royal Navy, the Portuguese, the Spanish, French, they all realized, okay, we need to stop it. I get there was exploitation. I get that. But the slavery aspect of it was over. They had to pay the people. They had to give them time off, et cetera, et cetera. I get there was still exploitation. I get it. We're all greedy. We're all sinners. You can't end that. But the actual slavery part was over. Then after World War II, of course, was when it all collapsed. And so from 1959, there was obviously the apartheid crap. And then, so now, 1974, we're getting rid of the white colonists, okay? The Christianity is basically being removed. And today, there's none of that. But there's slavery is returning. Bigly in this area under Muslims, slavery is returning. There's a few Christian states in here that don't have slavery, but the rest is slavery. And even the Chinese are coming in and creating slave states with the unholy alliance. So Christendom is what is the driving force to end slavery. Another thing I want to mention too is how colonialism. If you think about this, I'm going to go to look at the Muslim Ottoman Empire here. They did this through conquest. The colonialism of the Christians was I guess there was some conquest, but it was mostly like let's get things going, let's get businesses going, let's establish things. So many countries back then had such a wonderful. By 1914, they had cool cultures. Man, Lebanon was going well. Well, where's Lebanon? Lebanon had a great culture. The Mediterranean, the Middle East Mediterranean, that was like France. And I saw that movie about Cambodia and how they were depicting like how it was a wonderful time before the Khmer Rouge, and it had everything was sort of wonderful. There's a girl or a story about the girl who, anyway, but they depicted how it was done by Angelina Jolie, by the way. So you look her up in that film. But the depiction was like they had a really wonderful life and then the communists came in and wiped that all out. But there was, things were happening. People were getting rich. Agriculture was happening. The colonies were just successful, and no slavery. But yeah, that ended. But this is Christianity. Christianity was spreading out, was moving. And in India, I read where a guy was saying, is some Indian dude, he said that it was the white British colonialists that saved India, because when the British came and colonized, the Muslims were brutally terrorizing the Hindus, with their style of brutalizing terror, and they were losing. And when the British came in, the Muslims then, we're going to brutally terrorize the British, and the British was like, okay, who leads these Muslims? Oh, the imams. All right, let's go execute the imams. They started executing imams, and the terror went away. And because the British and the Christians at that time were Christian nationalists, they weren't afraid to fight. They weren't being hampered by Marxists and whiners that told them not to do things. They went out and freaking did things. They were knights. They were knights, and they confronted evil and they dealt with it. And they ended like in India, the Hindus would bear, when a husband died, they would burn the wife who was still alive in the funeral pyre with the husband. And that was a tradition, a normal tradition in India. So imagine that you're a wife, and then, that's your end. So yeah, guess what the British did? Yeah, they ended it. And I read one report. Now I know the missionaries ended it, but another time a British colonel It was the Christian missionaries that ended it, that spread that. But the British colonel saw that they were doing that, and the Hindus said, "Oh, this is our tradition." And the British colonel said, "Yeah, okay, you can do that, but I have a tradition too, where we execute anyone that murders, kills a woman, a woman or anyone. So you can set up your funeral pyre, and next to it, I'm going to set up the gallows, and anyone that does that to a woman, I'm going to hang them." So he ended it there. He ended their tradition real quick, because that's what Christian nationalists, we want a modicum of morality, people. We just want a modicum. Another thing I want to mention is the Dark Ages. This one gets to me a lot. They talk about how horrible the Dark Ages was in Europe, how horrible it was. So I want to get, I want to actually go to a image. Let me pause this real quick. I just want to get close in on Europe. All right, I want to talk about the Dark Ages and medieval ages, but especially even the Dark Ages. So there was this claim, and I hear it even from conservatives, that how the Dark Ages were so horrible. And even movies now, I'm watching movies where especially in BBC and in films and productions, where they always show the oppressiveness of the people, like the common man is being so horrifically oppressed in Christian cultures back in the Dark Ages. Okay, think about this. I think that's a lie, because if that was a lie, why did they over the from 1400 on, why was they so rich that they started colonizing other countries? In order to do that, your nation has to be incredibly rich. You have to make ships, soldiers, colonizers, like just so much wealth to do that. Why then do you think, why was the Dark Ages then so oppressive, under this Christian land, if they were doing that? But here's another thing they were doing. All across Europe, pilgrims. They don't talk about pilgrimages. The Christians were massively doing pilgrimages. Massive. Some of them would just go to Spain. Some of them would cross the continent to go to specific places where they heard about miracles, about saints and stuff like that. So there was massive migration of pilgrims. They weren't moving there because they were poor. They weren't moving there because of tragedies. They were just doing pilgrimages. Now think about this. And of course, I'm going to get to Jerusalem and Israel. They were doing pilgrimages all the way down to freaking Israel here, right? To go to Jerusalem. It was so bad, right? That's why the Crusades and all that. That's the whole history of the Crusades, and how the Muslims there had conquered and were controlling Jerusalem, and then terrorizing the Christians that would come. It would be a cyclical thing where some Muslim, what are they called? The sheiks, or I don't know what they're called. They would, well, I do know. I just not top of my head. They would be nice and let them come, and because of the business. But then then the evil son would take over and then start killing and persecuting the pilgrims. So that's how the Hospitallers and the Templars and all that started, because they had to protect the pilgrims. Okay, why'd they do that? Because it was huge business. I mean, that wasn't their intent. Their intent was Christian, and I'm a Christian. I know why their real intent was, but it was still a huge commercial thing to do that. And they even started up international banking. The Templars invented international banking, where you deposit your money in their bank in Germany, and when you got to Israel, the Templars there got the message that this person had this much money, and then they would do that, blah blah blah, and they would go back and forth and communicate that. And that is a huge investment of time. Think about this: pilgrims, it takes them a year or two journey. So these pilgrims in the millions had that much wealth. They didn't have to work for a year or two. They had enough money to support themselves. Whoever, they're a couple, a family. I don't know, how they, exactly the number, the makeup of them. But they would go on these pilgrimages that are a year or two long and cost an incredible amount of money, right? So that means they were wealthy. They had wealth, and there was tons of people doing it. Not just rich people, regular people were doing it. So if they were doing that, how many of you can do that today? Go on these pilgrimages. Tons of people were doing it. And again, they were doing local ones too, not just all the way to Israel. They were not flying there. And this was starting in the Dark Ages, because 1000 AD is when the Crusades started. And the reason they started was because of the pilgrimages happening hundreds of years before that, that were building up over time. And so tons of people were traveling around as Christians, doing pilgrimages. Thusly, this land was obviously becoming more and more successful, more and more rich because of Christendom, because of church history, because of planting churches. Churches were being planted across this plain, and people were becoming more and more successful, rich. They had that income that they could use to go do extra things. Restaurants were starting, resorts and stuff like that, places to go and do things other than just work and toil away and slave away. They had the freedom to do this, and so for all these shows got to show some sort of oppressive, terrible thing, revenge, to make a story, but they are erasing the true message of this, the success of the church and of church history in the Dark Ages and Middle Ages, and how the people were becoming so rich. I read one in a Catholic thing where a priest and this woman who was a pilgrim, they stayed up all night talking about faith. In the Dark Ages or whatever, or the Middle Ages or whatever, but they spent all night talking about the joys of faith and all that. And nothing sexual or anything. But he had spent many time with the pilgrims. And this, they had that kind of luxury to do that kind of joy back then to do that kind of thing. And we're not, we don't want to depict that in entertainment. We don't want to depict that in shows. And I get it, but it's being ignored. It's being erased. And I would like, especially in the role-playing game that I'm doing, to bring that back. That planning churches and church history again versus paganism that is coming back, today, obviously. I mean, it's always, paganism has always been. That is our default, no matter what. One last thing I want to talk about the slave trade here. Just to go back to slave thing, I meant to kind of do that a little bit out of order. But yeah, so the first reported African slaves in the New World is 1500, and obviously right before about 1450, 60 was the Portugal started their thing, and they thought they were doing something good initially. So 1500 and 1860 is officially comes to an end, 1867. So 360 years, so about 400 years is the time that the white colonists started up slavery. It takes a while to get the thing going, and a while for people to understand what's going on, and a while for the commerce to switch. So things like this take a while. Like it took 100 years for the French to counter the English longbow, even though they could have done it in one day if they just figured it out. It takes us a while to figure things out. I know this is silly, but at the gym, they have these 45-pound weights, and they've built in handles into the weights. Okay, so that makes it really easier to carry these things and lift them up and put them. Okay, well, those weights have been around for 40 plus years, and we never thought of putting handles in them or grips, like that. They're so convenient and useful now, and we never thought of doing that for 40 years. So it takes us 40 years in a modern world to say, come up with these little conveniences. Back then, it just takes a while for things to change. It takes generations of understanding and teaching and all that. And I am fine with this. I am not ashamed of the slavery. We did it, didn't like it, ended it forcefully. And it permeated all of culture. And the Democrats have never apologized for their huge role in the slavery in America. They even threatened Thomas Jefferson. So they even threatened the forming of America if we abolish slavery in 1770. So they're not going to mention that. So yeah, I don't know. Just hope I've been somewhat helpful and informative. I'm a layman historian, I guess, who kind of knows a bunch of broad stuff as I study and look for things and I hear their arguments, and then I look those things up. I mean, I don't like organize my thoughts and log everything, because it's just so overwhelming, the amount of lies and pettiness coming from evil, coming from the left, coming from secularists and Marxists that continually just lie and accuse and slander and project their evil upon good, and upon Christianity especially. It's just overwhelming that I so I just have my layman disorganized thoughts on all of it, or lessons that I've researched and stuff. So that's just my little rant. I wanted to get something off my chest, or give things off my chest, and make another rant video, because I haven't done one in a while. But I've been trying to focus on the RPG, the For the Lord RPG. Also, I got to mention this. I never mentioned this. I don't know who's been. I should have started this at the beginning, but that's how much of a terrible salesman I am. I want to show you my books on Amazon, so you guys can see what I do. Let me move that over here, and if you guys, I'm going to sort of go through these real quick. So this is my Alfred series. I recommend this for adults. I recommend this for adults. I wrote it technically for adults. It's Lord of the Rings meets I guess Narnia or whatever, but it's a kid, a modern day kid going into a fantasy world, so Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's court kind of thing. He's thrown in there, and so it's from his kind of from his perspective, but he deals with adults and their problems. He's dealing with a lot of adults. And the first book is a little more like The Hobbit, but then it gets to Lord of the Rings as we move on. You know what I mean? It's kind of that sort of a thing. But I really recommend this if you're into fantasy and hard fantasy too, like tough fantasy, like cool, epic fantasy. There's some cool stuff going on, man. Really cool stuff. It gets going really hardcore. The first one is cool. It's a very dark Hobbit type of thing. And then it gets even more and more epic as you move along, with the Alfred 2 in the Underworld, Alfred 3 and the Quest Knights, Alfred 4 versus the Necromancer, and Alfred 5. This one is huge, in the city realm of Telestein. I made a crazy, fantastical, very deep, rich fantasy world, and I kind of I think I will eventually put it in for the Lord RPG. Don't want to say how I want to tie it in, but I just need to finish the series. I'm starting 6 now. I want to go to I think 7. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, this is my epic fantasy series, and there's a really cool review on, and I don't get that many reviews because I only go to one convention, like a homeschool convention here in Southern California, and I keep forgetting to mention people. Please put some reviews up. I know that authors have to actually request for reviews, and I never do, so I don't get that many. And not that I'm selling a ton. And most of my sales are at conventions and not that much on Amazon. I don't really get that many sales on Amazon specifically. I mean, I get some sales, but most of them are at the convention. But I only go to one, the homeschool convention. I don't travel around to other conventions. I'm just kind of tired, basically. But anyway, that's on there. And if you do get it, and if you do like it, please leave reviews. I really need reviews here I don't advertise on Amazon. I did it for a little bit, but I just did like $20 a month, and didn't really, I don't know how to do this. I just don't have, I kind of, I don't really focus on marketing. So, okay. Another one I want to show you, this is the hardcore one for dad, especially for Christian dads, is Night of the Dead. This is my series. I've done 4 books. It's adult for sure. Very, very gory, very violent, full of ton of action. I want full on action. And 8 a.m. Los Angeles, the most populated county in the U.S., the zombie end times begins. So I describe Hollywood and L.A., and this is the night, or it's a reenactor or medieval armored combat fighter who and his family who are in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. So he uses his armor to survive. And very Christian too. It's a very Christian. I'm kind of doing some weird stuff in there, but fun. I really enjoy it. I miss writing it. I've been so busy with 4 Lord RPG, and I got to work on Alfred, and I definitely miss this storyline. Each of them ends well, and I would like to continue the story, but each of them is a solid story within each thing. So just so you know, it's not like a cliffhanger or anything like that. Each of them has a beginning and an end, and then the potential for another one. So there's that. Then the other one here I did. This one's kind of sillier, and I don't know if I'll continue the series, so I don't know why I'm trying to sell it to you. But it's very D&D. Whoops. These are short books, and I'm not pushing D&D anymore, so it's very D&D-ish. No Christianity in it at all. It's just very fantasy, light fantasy, kid fun fantasy, and they're thin, narrow pulp books. So if you want to get that for your kid, but it's funny. Like I don't know if I can recommend this one anymore. And each of them is their own like story. I mean, there is a church here, but it's not Christian. It's just a church, or yeah. And it's of good. They're of good for sure. And I guess I should say secretly, this is a tie-in to Alfred, but it's a way off in a different area, and there's no connection to Alfred and Christianity yet. That story, but it is in the same world, but it's a completely separate area. But fantasy, and again, the Alfred series has a Christian tie-in, for sure. Alfred is not a believer, but he starts to, he's in the modern world and in the fantasy world, and he starts to connect the two and hear about Christianity through the modern world, and and he's pondering it all. And so and I have that going through this series. And anyway, and he encounters Christians in the series. Okay, so yeah, so those are my 3 book series. Again, Alfred I really recommend and you can read it to your kid. You can read it as an awesome series to read for your kid. Your kids can just read it, but you can read it to them, and you will be entertained as well. So I do highly recommend that. The Night of the Dead one, no, that's just for you adults, or for the husbands, for the dads mainly. The wives would probably like it. My wife liked it. Yeah. Anyway, all right, those are my books. Just wanted to bring that up. I got to start mentioning them more to let you know that they exist. Okay, that's my long rant for anyone out there that's somewhat, for you 7 people that enjoy my videos. Appreciate you supporting. Please comment to bring it up. I don't know what the title of this, because it's just rants all over the place, but it's all about Christian nationalism. I don't know. Anyway, all right. I might as well just say that. That'll be that's always a firebrand word to use. All right. I'm continuing on with For the Lord RPG. Got to finish the Kickstarter. I'm almost done. Yeah. And making these videos slows me down, and doing other things slows me down, but I got to get that done. It's really close. I'm just finishing up the PDF printables, and I've done a lot of them. So that's what threw me off, how many I've done. I've got to put them all together. All right. In the game of life, roll holy dice.